Good afternoon, Mr. Tamak. Thank you so much for taking our time to be here today. I know we've been in touch for a while. We've had some wonderful discussions on agriculture, but really looking forward to a very detailed conversation on, your journey and some of the interesting things you've seen in sugar and ethanol today. Thank you once again.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to interact with you, Mr. Ramakrishna, and looking forward for a meaningful conversation.
Thank you. Let's start with your own personal journey, so to say. I know, you wanted to originally become an IAS officer. And then, of course, life took its own turn, and now you're known as the sugar man of India, so to say. So just walk us through, how that journey happened.
Yeah. So this true that this civil service is my dream career, and I did try for that. But way back in 1986, when I joined sugar industry, I was so engaged with my job that I could not spare time for preparation, and somehow this dream could not be fulfilled. However, it's quite satisfying and heartening that this sector also gives you opportunity to work for the communities, farmers, and rural, rural basically agriculture. So this is satisfying, and you can impact millions of lives through your work.
Absolutely. Being in agriculture, I'm sure you're impacting a lot of lives across the country. And, agriculture is such a subject that you also get to see a lot of conflicts among different stakeholders. The farmers have their own requirements. I'm sure as a business, you have, your own uh, expectations and requirements and pressures. The government has its own agenda and thought process. How do you really, navigate these different stakeholders? Is it more challenging than an IS job, or how is it?
No, this is quite challenging. I will admit that. And contradiction of management is the real challenge, and that is the job of leadership in any field. Here also, various stakeholders have their own expectations, and basically, you have to align with them. Government has its own mandate. Sugar cane growers have their own expectations that they should get better price for their produce. There is a limit to which these can be met. But one of my learning has been that by constant interaction with all the stakeholders, means meaningful engagement on consistent basis, and having genuineness in your approach with fair level of transparency. And of course, you should have empathy also. Until unless you fit yourself into the shoes of others, you cannot remain genuine. So if we combine all this into your approach, then certainly stakeholder management is not difficult.
Interesting. Um, let's talk about, overall sugar production in India. I'm sure you are better aware than me. The sugar recovery rate in India is hardly about 9 to 10%. And if you look at, more evolved markets like Brazil, it's much higher, around 12 to 14%. This is one of the typical challenges in India, that the yield or the extraction is not as great as you would like it to be. What are some of the steps which people are attempting? What do you think more can be done which can really improve the recovery for us?
So essentially, as far as sugar recovery is concerned, there are three factors which impact the sugar recovery. One is genetic potential of any variety. Second is climatic conditions. And third is agriculture practices.
Right.
So without accepting climate, these two factors can be managed: breeding partially and management practices fully.
So have you seen some kind of an improvement in the past few years, or at least over like a few decades?
Yes, if you analyze into a time horizon of decades, certainly there is improvement.
Okay. Okay. So there is something to look forward to that,
There-
more can happen.
Yes, there is improvement. But now, with the challenge of climate change, degeneration of varieties is much faster. And secondly, the positive part is that in breeding, because the breeding cycle of sugarcane takes about 12 to 13 years, it's a lengthy process. But now, with the artificial intelligence enabled technologies, genome editing, gene sequencing, etc., all these new age technologies, you can influence the outcome also of your breeding up to some extent, and the cycle of breeding can also be squeezed a bit.
Very nice. Very nice. And since you spoke about, use of AI and technologies, apart from breeding in terms of the on-farm practices, do you see these technologies being deployed in an efficient manner? Do you see new adoption and better output on, yields for the farmer by the use of these technologies?
Frankly, in our organization also, we have promoted many startups, and we have started using such technologies. And being in agriculture space, I am privy to such developments happening in the sector. On commercial scale, that traction is yet not there. That's true. But on experimental scale, definitely there are good level of activities going on in the sector. And we have seen the experiments in our sector as well, sugarcane sector, where you can advise farmers on real-time basis about the moisture stress, about the crop condition, crop stress, about the weather conditions. You can very well communicate, and there are so many activities. So these are the few informations which can really impact the yield positively. So up to some extent, but not on large scale. However, because cell phone penetration is very much there, it is increasing very rapidly in rural India also. With the help of cell phone, the knowledge transmission is much faster now. With the help of YouTube's, WhatsApp messages, and other modes of communication, you can certainly communicate effectively and faster. So that is also helpful in increasing the yield.
Wonderful. Yeah. Even in my agri-tech experience, I've seen massive adoption of the mobile phone and, Android-based multiple apps, whether it is YouTube, as you mentioned, or other things. It's a lot more easier to communicate with the farmers. Completely agreed. And on the scaling part, we are seeing that the government is actually trying to step in certain places and saying that, look, the way to really ramp this up is for the government to come in and, help with buying of these technologies and deploying at scale. And I hope some of these, good technologies get scaled, from there. So let's see how that goes. Talking about bioenergy, which is a relatively new realm for the overall sugar industry. I think you've mentioned it in one of your interviews that ethanol is the health tonic for this industry.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate what you meant there?
Yes. So if you look into the history, there used to be infamous sugar cycle in India.
Infamous, okay.
And just to elaborate it further, when production used to be high, there used to be softening of prices. And the result of that farmers were not paid in time.
Right.
Then production used to go down, then prices again
Go up.
Up and down. This up and down was almost there every 3-4 years. So when this ethanol blending program was kick-started, essentially this was also one of the objective, that how can we divert surplus sugar to ethanol. And this provided a good channel for diverting surplus sugar to ethanol. And with bioenergy, in particularly in today's context, and more so, it is very, very important for India because energy demand is going up. Geopolitical tensions are there. We are importing our majority of the fuel. So, and it can support agriculture. Environmentally, it is conducive. So, it ticks all the boxes. So, therefore, government pushed ethanol blending program, and it is heartening to note that the government achieved this ethanol blending target of 20% was achieved 5 years in advance. So this is, and sugar factory has played a pivotal role in ethanol blending program.
Absolutely.
So this has helped the industry, sugar industry, by taking care of the excess sugar so that prices are stable. And now cane price arrears are an issue of past. So farmers are being paid in time. So that's why I told that it is a tonic for the industry, for the sector rather.
You spoke about ethanol blending, and as you said, we've already achieved the 20%. In fact, now there's a conversation about trying to take it to 27%. How do you see this evolving? What should be done by the industry or the government to kind of move this forward? You've already spoken about the advantages of the EBP program. What else should be done?
Yes. So basically, now this program has established clearly, and all the stakeholders, whether it is producers or consumers, like automobile industry, they have got fair level of clarity that how it can be scaled up. So essentially, consumption is to be increased now because country is having now more capacity. 1800 crore ethanol capacity is already created in the country. And India being a agriculturally diverse country, we have different agroclimatic zones. So lot of crops now can be used for ethanol production, like sugarcane in any case is there, maize is there, and surplus rice is there. And we have excess of many crops. So those can be diverted for making ethanol after meeting the food requirement. So essentially the requirement is that consumption should be increased by adoption of flexi fuel vehicles, so that the consumer is given the choice that which fuel they want to consume. And this should be explored that where else we can use ethanol in as replacement of the fossil fuel. So consumption is the mother of all businesses, and that needs to be increased.
Demand आएगा तो बाकी सब चीजें
सारी चीजें follow करेंगे.
We all know that labor is becoming a major problem in agriculture. There's hardly anyone available to work on the field, so to say. So when you look at specifically sugar as a domain, how is this scenario evolving, and do you see automation coming there? What changes would you like to see more going forth?
Yes. So labor availability for agriculture operation is a real challenge for agriculture sector. And sugarcane is a labor intensive crop.
It is.
Because for 6 months, 5-6 months, you need to have laborers for harvesting sugarcane. So therefore, in all parts of the country, including Uttar Pradesh, we are facing problem of the labor availability for agriculture operations. Therefore, mechanization of agriculture is absolutely must. Secondly, the climate change, the rise in temperature has also made it difficult for working in the fields manually in peak summer. That is also a real challenge. in 43, 44 degree centigrade temperature, how you can work in the field. So essentially, we need to have machines for the entire life cycle of any crop, particularly suiting to the needs of the small and marginal farmers. There needs to be some customization to be done in case of agri-mechanization, keeping in view the land holding size. As far as sugarcane is concerned, there we need harvesting solutions. And in harvesting also, if you are able to develop whole cane harvesters, means no billet cutting. In other parts of the world and even in India, cane is cut into small pieces.
Smaller pieces.
So there are certain disadvantages of that because a lot of extraneous matter comes along with the cane. Deterioration of cane is much faster because sugarcane is a live material.
Yeah.
So therefore, whole cane harvester is ideally suited for sugarcane harvesting. And if this can be developed, then this will really be a big help to the farmers.
The farmers. Interesting. Yesterday, I was in a meeting with the National Horticulture Board, and they mentioned that some corporates have taken their CSR funds and actually installed AC rooms in some farmers. I was like, okay, are you talking about cold storage or AC rooms? They said, no, in select areas, they've just placed AC rooms so that the farmer, when he's really struggling with the heat which you're talking about, he just goes and rest there for some time, and then he goes back into the field and kind of does his farming, so to say. I found it quite strange, but yeah, I guess what you're referring to is we need those kind of interventions to really make it easy for the farmer to operate.
There's a lot of physical exertion, and humanely it is not possible.
It is quite difficult. It is quite difficult. We started with the concept of IAS officers, and then we spoke about agriculture being very tightly integrated with government. Of course, this is a highly regulated body, and there are critical stakeholders. So from a policy intervention point of view, we already spoke about ethanol, for instance. Anything else which you think the government should take up a lot more aggressively, which will help the sugar farmers?
So basically, work needs to be done on 3 areas. One is that the existing assets, how those can be utilized fully, and they should generate reasonable returns, because sugarcane sector is highly regulated and sugarcane price is fixed by the government. So therefore, the prices of its 2 products, that is sugar and ethanol, should commensurate with the increase in sugarcane price. So that inherent profitability is there, and so that farmers can be paid in time. This is one. Secondly, sugar industry are now complexities today. They are producing multiple products. And sugar sector is a classical example of circular economy. We have so many products, byproducts, which can be used for making valuable product. Value addition is possible. And also, we have feedstocks like bagasse, press mud, aggregated at one place. So that makes us unique. And these products, whether press mud for CBG and bagasse for biomaterial, biochemical, 2G ethanol for other products can be utilized. So now, for converting these sugar complexes into bioenergy hubs should be on the top of the agenda. For that, because there are new technologies, those are yet to be proven commercially. So industry needs to be supported by way of fiscal incentive, viability gap funding, and wherever possible and desired, their offtake guarantee should be there. These are the 3 things.
Great.
And finally, sugarcane is the heart of sugar sector. And now sugarcane, particularly breeding part, mechanization part, and water conservation part, these aspects are being dealt by multiple ministries, other ministries than food ministry, agriculture ministry, other ministries. And there are so many research stations, so many states are there. So to coordinate in an effective manner so that breeding is done efficiently and mechanization is focused and other input side issues, sugarcane related issues are taken care in a holistic, coordinated and comprehensive manner by some agency. So sort of National Sugarcane Development Board or National Sugarcane Mission.
So very few commodities have national level boards. I mean,
Yeah.
just being a state subject, every state is trying to do. Every state has its own sugar commission, but at a national level, yeah, we don't have a body which could make a difference, so to say.
So there has to be one body which coordinates with all the stakeholders, whether these are universities, research stations, multiple states, and industry associations, multiple ministries,
Right.
to coordinate effectively.
Right.
And the mandate should be that how can we increase the sugarcane productivity and sugar productivity on sustainable basis.
Sure.
This should be the mandate.
Sure. You just spoke about sustainability, sustainable basis for sugarcane. And earlier you were just talking about, how circular economy is something kind of inherent to sugarcane as a commodity and sugar as a business. Your LinkedIn profile specifically mentions, embedding sustainability in business, so to say. So would love to hear from you, how you are embedding sustainability into sugarcane, ethanol, the whole jing bang.
So basically, Mr. Ramakrishnan, we wear two hats. One is that as a person, I am a global citizen. Second, I am a professional. So I have certain professional duty. And third, I represent some corporate. So my company is also a responsible corporate. So we have also set some targets for us.
Sure.
So we have decided that we should, in a conscious manner, we should initiate some sustainability related initiatives in all aspects of our operations, whether it is sugarcane value chain or it is factory value chain. So what could be those interventions? And those interventions should be around, because again, we are consuming a lot of energy and producing a lot of energy.
Correct.
We are producing, sugarcane has 70% water, right?
Correct.
So that can be given back to the system. Sugarcane produces press mud, which is again a good manure, which can again be given to soil. Then all these biomaterials, whether bagasse is there. So these can be meaningfully utilized.
Right.
But to conserve more water, to conserve energy, to conserve steam, what can be done? And above all, in agriculture, about 80% of our water is being used for agriculture. So how can we conserve water in sugarcane cultivation? So those are the areas we are focusing, so that in the entire value chain, our sustainability initiatives are there, focusing on conservation of these natural resources.
Great. You spoke about multiple side products or ancillary products. I've personally seen only one small listed company which is creating a lot of sanitary napkins and tissue papers and a few other products. I'm forgetting the details, but all as a byproduct of their sugar business. So this was actually a sugar business which expanded into this kind of a side business. But I haven't seen a lot of these examples. So just curious, have these ideas already become commercially viable, or it's at a nascent stage, some experimentation is happening? Why is it not taking off is basically my question. Why am I seeing only one example? Why am I not seeing a lot?
So see that this production of sanitary napkins or this sanitary all these cutlery, etc., is only one company which you have mentioned that they have initiated. But this is very smaller aspect of the whole thing. Broadly, I should tell you about that what sugar industry is contributing. For example, we are the major contributor in ethanol. We are producing bioenergy, sorry, uh, green power, cogeneration power
Right.
from bagasse.
Right.
We have started producing compressed biogas from press mud.
Right.
And now with the bagasse, we can produce some sort of biomaterials which you are talking just now,
Right.
or biochemical, or bio fuel also, like sustainable aviation fuel,
Fuel.
2G ethanol, PLA, polylactic acid. So all these materials can be produced, the entire value chain.
Okay.
But why it is not taking off? So that, as I mentioned in my earlier part of the conversation, that some of the technologies are relatively new. Market is to be created for bioproducts.
Correct.
One. Secondly, the technology is yet to be proven commercially in most of the cases, particularly SAF, 2G ethanol. It is yet to be
Right.
taken, tested commercially.
Right.
So there, some sort of fiscal incentives,
Right.
offtake surety is required to make this successful.
I understand. I understand. You spoke about technologies earlier, and I'm aware that you're actively involved in helping startups also kind of engage with your value chain. Any interesting businesses, startups, ideas which you see, really adding value to the sugarcane industry?
So we have tried startups and provided them opportunity for trying out their solutions in the agri value chain and also in factory value chain.
Okay.
In factory side, it is much easier
Okay.
because if you are able to reduce the variability and you are able to identify the golden batch, then certainly you can improve the efficiency of any equipment. Secondly, like there are certain hazardous areas where you cannot reach there without risk. There the machines or the sensors can work very, very effectively. And there are so many live cases where those applications have really benefited in terms of preventing the breakdowns
Okay.
or identifying the issues proactively or giving you the real-time information. So this is very much there. As far as agri value chain is concerned, there are 3-4 things like, for example, yield estimation, reasonable accuracy more than 90%.
Is it from satellite or drone?
Satellite.
Satellite.
Like identification of the optimum maturity period in terms of sugar recovery, sugar content. That is also 90% plus accuracy is there.
Okay.
Third, water stress situation, clearly established. On this crop stress identification, clearly seen. But here some tweaking is required, some refinement is required. That is not as certain as we have seen in the factory side.
Sure.
But work is going on, and hopefully the way agtech space is shaping up, I'm quite optimistic that something will come out of these technologies.
Wonderful. So if you had to describe the sugar industry in one word, what would that be?
Transforming.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And if there's a 25-year-old who's just entering the sugar business today, what would your key advice to that young professional would be?
So my advice would be be close to man, machine, material, and market. Means you should have your foot on the ground. You should have a feel of the real issues, where it is actually happening, whether it is market or it is field or it is factory. Because ultimately, business is all about handling human relations, and you should understand the issues firsthand. That practical experience of issues is absolutely must, and there is no replacement of that.
Wonderful. With that, we come to the end of this session. That's Mr. Sugarman for you, sharing his experience and his anecdotes from agriculture. Lovely talking to you, and especially thanks for sharing those anecdotes and tips about the on-ground realities. I think that's great advice for someone coming into the industry. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ramakrishna. It was a pleasure to interact with you.